War Eagle, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. We are here broadcasting on YouTube and on Twitter as well. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. We always enjoy hearing from you, the Auburn family, to discuss what's going on in the world of Auburn family stuff, whether that be sports, food, Auburn War Eagle moments, anything in between. We want to talk about it here on this broadcast. So today, as always, I have some news and discussion points that I'll bring up, but I always love to hear from you and what's on your mind in the world of Auburn athletics and sports and everything in between in the Auburn spectrum. So don't be shy. Say hello, War Eagle. What's up? Whatever you'd like to say to let me know that you're here, please don't be shy. With that being said, it's been a little bit of time since we did one of these. I have been on vacation. And it was a good vacation, and so that's why we haven't done probably one in about a week and a half. But it's a good day to get started again, as there are some pretty big Auburn headlines that I want to discuss today, and potentially, hear your opinions on as well. Obviously, two huge Auburn wins yesterday. Gus Malzahn has some dance moves, and anything that else is on your mind around the spectrum of Auburn, we can talk about here on the show today. So I see a lot of you tuning in on both formats here. So YouTube is in front of me, Twitter's up here, so I'll try to keep focused on both of these and try to, as your questions or comments come in, we can discuss those. Let me just start out by saying this. There's been a lot of rumors and discussion on message boards and things that Gus Malzahn has lost the locker room. I'm here to tell you today that he has lost the locker room. Lost their minds with his dance moves. So that was a bad joke. It had to come out. So look, I think the obvious thing in the room here is that the Auburn family is very divided on head coach Gus Malzahn. My opinion and the opinion of this network is that he is the best option for Auburn for the coming years, and we're very pleased to have him as our head coach. So we're always going to err on the side of that, me personally, but also as a network as well. So just wanted to drop that in there. But yes, there's always a little bit of where there's smoke, there's fire when things aren't going well. That's not to say that everything's hunky-dory right now. But I think if you look at the way the program responded, the team responded around each other and to coach last night, I think you see a much different story than what people behind the scenes make you want to think. If your coach has lost the locker room, your senior who is leaving in Big Cat Bryant doesn't want to do I don't know what you call it, where you run up and slap each other and bang each other's shoulder jumping up, which Gus Malzahn, by the way, he may have dance moves. He does not have ups. I think you barely could have slid a piece of paper underneath his feet when he tried to go celebrate with Big Cat Bryant on that final sack of the night and the final sack of his career. However, can we all just address that Gus Malzahn has better dance moves than we gave him credit for? Better than I could have done. I don't know what that dance was he was doing. And for those of you that don't know, you can find it. I think we did it on our social media, on Twitter at least. You can find a video that we retweeted or shared out that was taken by, I think, Keandre Jones on his Instagram or something like that, of him celebrating with the team and doing a dance routine that they had clearly taught him. Because I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Gus Malzahn did not learn that dance on his own or know that dance on his own. So I think it's fair to say that they taught that to him, and they had a great time watching some very, what I'll call at times, awkward moves by Gus Malzahn, but surprisingly smooth and surprisingly coordinated, better than I could have done. So if you haven't watched that video, I think you should go and watch it online. Like I said, you can follow it on our social media. It's everywhere now. And if you've lost the team, you don't have those type of moments in the locker room after a Mississippi State win. So I'm not going to sit here and say that everything's hunky-dory with the program right now, because it's not. But I am going to argue that he has not lost the locker room. Lost their minds in terms of laughter at his dance moves, but nonetheless, very entertaining video. Did you all watch it? If you've watched it, let me know what you thought about it. Was it more awkward, or was it actually kind of impressive for you? I kind of sit somewhere on the spectrum of impressed but yet awkward at the same time, kind of like right down the middle. Probably honestly more impressed than anything by Gus Malzahn's dance moves and after the game yesterday. Speaking of the game, so we had 2 Auburn wins yesterday. Auburn football defeats Mississippi State in their final game of the season, their final regular season game. We're expecting a bowl pick should they continue having the bowl season. That is going to be happening after the new year, I believe. And Coach Gus Malzahn even said that they're going to give them 2 weeks off and then kind of come back together and start preparation, because we'll more than likely know all of that type of information by then. So we'll have more information and discussion points on where Auburn will be playing in a bowl game and who they'll be playing in a bowl game as time goes on. The other thing is that Auburn took down Memphis here in Atlanta. I live outside of Atlanta, and had I not been traveling that yesterday, I would have, and obviously COVID-19 restrictions, I would have very much liked to have been here in Atlanta watching Auburn defeat the Memphis Tigers in a very, very, very well, evenly matched game that I haven't seen in quite some time. It was back and forth the entire game. So 2 Auburn wins on a day where that was pretty good overall. And, look, I think some people will probably discredit this type of thinking about it. It's just for fun. I would say that there were 3 Auburn wins on yesterday, one of those being that Alabama basketball lost to Clemson in the holiday Hoopsgiving event here in Atlanta, which was pretty funny because they just seem to have trouble with Clemson and Auburn in most sports, and that continues to go on and on and on for them here. So 3 Auburn wins, I think, what you can kind of amount to on that. I was really impressed with the young talent of Auburn basketball against Memphis, and I was very impressed with Memphis's young talent and their evenness in terms of their, obviously, like I've said, their talent, the star power that's on their team in terms of coaches and players, and just kind of the way both of them play. And I got the feeling that this could be a matchup that we see 1, maybe 2 years down the road in a tournament scenario that could be very interesting to look back on and say, hey, remember when we were both kind of figuring things out, getting the talents all together, and you were on postseason ban? Is Memphis on a postseason ban? I can't remember. I feel like the James Wiseman situation put them on a postseason ban, but if that's the case, if that is even more eerily similar. And I do think that these are 2 teams and 2 programs that will probably have some similar trajectories over the next 2 to 3 years, and it will be very good trajectories for both of them. But anyway, so it was a great game. I was really entertained by it. And if you have not already, I should have done this at the beginning. We have put out the podcast that I do, Inside the Jungle. We put out a review episode of that last night. That is live. And I should go ahead and say this here. If you have not listened to our Auburn Roots series that we do, which is where we invite Auburn family members on to come and tell their Auburn stories. Usually have to be done by an invite, but if you want to guarantee your spot on that, you can join the E2C Network Booster Club, which is our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/E2C Network. You can find that there, and you can guarantee yourself being able to tell your Auburn story or a selection of your choice if you don't want to do it yourself. You can pick someone else to do that there. But my friend Ben King, who helped start this podcast network, he was episode 20. That came out on Friday. We were not able to promote it then, but we will be doing some promotions for it in the coming days. But you need to check that out because literally the title of his episode is Born Because of the Iron Bowl. And I had no clue about this part. I've known Ben for several years now. Had no clue about this part of his story. So if you have time, you need to go check both of those episodes out. And we'll be obviously having football episodes coming out this week. Some more basketball as we get into the holiday season. You're going to be seeing a lot of basketball become prominent here on the network, as it should be. Even in a postseason ban time where it's going to be very frustrating, we're going to have a lot of that going on. Other than that, I think that's the main news. This is, like I said, this is the first time we're doing this in a couple weeks after me being on vacation. So hopefully we'll be getting back together very, very soon in the coming days to discuss some things in the Auburn news spectrum. Appreciate everyone watching who was here live or watching on the replay. And I hope to see you next time. War Eagle, my friends. All right, YouTube folks. You got me for few seconds or minutes more if you would like to ask any comments or questions. And I see that it's always funny. I say this every time. Somebody comes over there and watches live as soon as the Twitter feed goes off, because I guess they've learned that's what happens, which is interesting. I was like, just come over here and watch this one. But anyway, so I usually like to stay, because just the timing situation, I like to stay here for another minute or so if you have any comments or questions that you'd like addressed in the spectrum. And it doesn't even have to be the topics that we discussed about. But overall, a very good day, and on a day where I got back from vacation and was, probably like a little like in the doldrums. I'm like, oh, I got to go back to real world now. It was nice to come back in and have not just one, but two Auburn sports to follow, and they both ended up very well, and good things happening there. I know the game overall was very frustrating in the first half. Felt like it was going to be Mississippi State versus Auburn 2007, the 3-2 game. It felt like that for a little while there, but it finally kind of worked out in our favor. And I kind of felt like that was going to happen. The defense was playing well enough, and with their adjustments they were going to continue to make, the offense was finally going to get some things rolling here. I think Bo had a below-average game overall, but it was very nice to see the way he responded to some of the adversity that he had throwing the ball and eventually hooking up with Seth Williams. By the way, Seth Williams is a bad, bad dude. I will say this, Seth sometimes takes a play off, or it seems like or two, mentally at least. Not effort maybe, but mentally. But when that man wants to, he's one of the more, if not the most dominant wide receiver in the SEC. And the fact that he was getting jawed at by the Mississippi State defensive back, and then the next play torched him, that was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome. It was a very chippy game too, wasn't it? It was very just... And it felt like, and I know I've got my orange and blue glasses on here, but it felt like Mississippi State, for some reason, just had it out for us. And I'm like, what's your deal, man? You're 2-5 or something like that? You're not going to a postseason game? I get that this is you playing for, the last game of the season, but play a little better attitude-wise. I don't know. It just felt like there was a lot of chippiness, mainly from Mississippi State towards Auburn, kind of egging Auburn on into some situations where they shouldn't have been, because there were some personal fouls, targeting, things of that nature. But anyway, we got the win, 24-10. That's all that matters, and a basketball win, and Alabama basketball lost. Hey, I don't know that much better can happen on that day than anything else. Nostalgia Fury, welcome. He says, rough win, but War Eagle. Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a great win. That I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat and say that I was pleased with everything that I saw, but it's a very overused phrase, but a win is a win is a win. As long as you get the W, I don't necessarily care how you do it. I care that you do it the right way, obviously, morally, ethically, all that kind of stuff. But, in terms of how you actually on the field perform, as long as you get the W, whatever it takes, right? I mean, honestly, it's just a W in the win column at that point. And, it's the news that we'll have for football coming out the next couple of days is going to be very sparing, so we won't have a lot to discuss in that unless we get some bowl news in the next week or so. But we'll have some things to speculate on. The rumor mill is going to start. It's been started all season about will Gus Malzahn be the head coach next year or not. The latest rumors that I was hearing from people that I somewhat trust is that he had lost the locker room, is that he's basically just finishing out the season, and he was going to step down, and then they've already got Mario Cristobal. I really hope that's not the case, because I don't want to be another Alabama hybrid. I mean, I really don't want that. I would just, obviously, if something like that happens, I'll get on board with whoever's the Auburn coach over time, but that's not what I want to see happen. So, yeah, like you said, Nostalgia Fury, it is a rough win. But it is a War Eagle nonetheless. So, all right. Well, thank you all for being here. We'll be back again soon, probably in the next couple of days or so. Hopefully tomorrow, we'll get on again and do some live stream stuff. But appreciate you watching, and War Eagle.